and made a run happen in order to take game number 3 of this series.
Exactly what you wanted to happen did happen, and that is hold them down in the 9th and score a run and end the ball game. And it started with Avi. Avi trickles this ball down the line, and it stays fair. So he's aboard. He represents the winning run. Nobody covering second base as he steals second. So a mental mistake on the part of the Tigers. J.B. Shuck comes up, hits a ground ball, moves Avi to third. And on a steady diet of fastballs, Adam Eaton punches this through the left side. His 31st run batted in. It wins the ball game. That's what you were looking for, because the bullpen had been used and abused. Most of the same guys going at length. 2 straight games, so that one didn't even last a full inning, and the Sox won.
And they try to split the series now behind Jose Quintana, who was tremendous in his last start.
He's really having a very good month. And last time out against Seattle, he threw the ball just about as well as you could throw it. He was changing speeds. He was moving the ball up, down, in, out, which is when he's throwing well, that's how he does it. Good curveball low and in, gets Gutierrez, freezes Cano with a fastball. And so we'll take a look at the last 3 times out. He's 3-0, ERA 2.84. The 3 starts, the 19 innings, the opponent's batting average at 191, and so he's starting to heat it up at the right time. His record had fallen to 5-8. It's now 8-8. He's hoping to go above 500 today, and to do that, the Sox will win the abbreviated doubleheader.
Lineups are hot off the presses. Just got them for you here in the press box. We'll get them for you on the screen for your pleasure. Coming up next, Sox and Tigers series finale on the way. Sox and Tigers close up shop on a 4-game series. Game 1 suspended and finished on this field earlier today. And Jose Quintana takes to the hill under a blue canopy at U.S. Cellular Field. Starting lineup coming for Detroit, and Brad Ausmus goes like this. Ian Kinsler's had a fine series, scored a couple of runs the other night, 3 in fact. Iglesias, Cabrera, Martinez, who's had a tremendous career against the Sox. McCann and Romine just in today, their first start to the series.
Let's take a look at the defense and how Robin is going to line them up behind Jose Quintana. Melky Cabrera, J.B. Chuck, and Adam Eaton in the outfield with Todd Frazier. Jim Anderson, Carlos Sanchez getting the nod at second, and Jose Abreu at first. Deanna Navarro, the ever-present Deanna Navarro behind the plate. And Jose Quintana on the hill, looking for his 9th win of the year. There you look at the numbers, pretty impressive. Opponent's batting average, .238. ERA, .313.
The All-Star for the first time, Jose Quintana faces the Tigers.
We'll take a look at the umpires. It's Ryan Blakeney behind the plate, Corey Blazer at first, Jeff Nelson at second, and Todd Eddings is at third. So the wind very much a factor. We saw it in the first game. A fly ball to center, the wind just batted it straight down, so both infielders and outfielders have to be aware of that early in the game until they get a good feel for it. A lot of weather in the area this entire series so far. Nothing going on as far as rain is concerned, although that's supposedly due in a bit later. Hopefully they'll have this one well finished. The Sox will have won the Twin Bill and go from there, escorting Detroit out of town with a 2-2 split.
We'll see how it plays out. Quintana versus Anibal Sanchez, and Ian Kinsler, who we just saw at the plate not long ago. He doubled in the top of the 9th inning in game number 1, which had already gone through 8 innings. The Sox scored in the bottom of the 9th. And now we can stop with all that confusing rhetoric and play 9 innings of baseball in one day. Hopefully. Quintana, first pitch, line to third. Frazier's there, 1 out.
Kinsler loves to hit the first pitch. He hasn't done it a whole lot this series, but he does it there, and fortunately, Todd Frazier right in front of him.
So 1 out for Jose Iglesias, who's hit 9th throughout this series and has had a hit in each one of the games so far. Quintana to Iglesias, strike number 1. Well, you were talking about the starts this month for Jose Quintana. That was after 2 starts at the end of June, 12 innings, 12 1/3, 10 earned runs. Pop foul. Strike number 2 on Iglesias. Have you seen anybody in recent memory, though, that was happier to be selected to an All-Star game than Jose Quintana?
Well, I think he's been, if not expecting it, certainly feeling that he's deserving of it just about each and every year. And finally, this year it happened for him. He got a chance to pitch an inning. He was as happy a man as there was around, finally getting the recognition he is so greatly deserved. You know, his ERA in the American League in a hitter's ballpark has been in the low 3s each and every year. Not to mention the last 3 years he's thrown 200 or more innings. He's had 30 or more starts. You can't be much more durable than that. And in the American League, when the ERA is down there with the designated hitter in a ballpark where most of the time it's lively to all fields, you're getting the job done.
There's a reason some of these new stats take into account ballpark factors and try to equalize them out, because you pitch somewhere like here, and not that there's a strong comparison, but Coors Field as well, and there are other hitterish parks around Major League Baseball. It's a disadvantage for a pitcher. Up high, 3 balls, 2 strikes for Iglesias.
Take into consideration pitching for the Giants in San Francisco at China Basin in that ballpark, and realizing that it's really tough to hit the ball out. You're going to have probably a half a point better ERA.
Frazier tested again, this time on the ground, and Abreu backpedaling has out number 2. So bases cleared, 2 out for Miguel Cabrera, who Gets a nice round of applause from some spotty Tigers fans at the ballpark.
It actually came down. A lot of Tigers fans came down for this series.
Sounds like fewer today than the previous couple of games. But they have traveled well. You hear that about college football teams quite often. How do you travel in order to get a nice bowl game placement?
Well, certainly pretty close when you consider, for the most part, right on the interstate. You come straight down, probably no more than 3.5 hours to the ballpark, if that.
Who's driving?
Oh, you can get a 20 mule team.
Made our own wagon train from Detroit to Chicago. 1-2 on Cabrera, close pitch. Fouled away. Still a ball and 2 strikes on Miguel Cabrera, who in yesterday's game was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, though he did drive in a run. That was prior. A wonderful series for him. It's 6 for 7 with a home run and 3 knocked in. So now 6 out of 11 in the 3 games. Breaking ball low, 2-2 on Cabrera. The 5th youngest player to reach 1,500 RBIs in his career. Jimmy Fox being the youngest. Long fly ball, deep left field, foul.
Well, that one didn't go foul by much, but fortunately it hooked in front of the pole. Doug Eddings on the call. He followed it all the way, and Cabrera hit it far enough, hard enough, but fortunately foul enough.
But it only has to be just a little bit foul to be foul overall. Two and two. Smack down the right field line and foul. You think he can hit to all field, Steve?
Well, I don't want to see him hit that ball hard, that hard to center field, and the scoreboard, well, pretty much letting you know that it's 2-2 with 2 outs, but we haven't seen that particular look.
You expect a jackpot of coins to fall out with the 3 2s across. Downstairs 3-2 on Cabrera from Quintana. Tigers have been a top 10 hitting team in terms of batting average for the season. Top 10 in home runs as well in Major League Baseball. Q trying to keep him down. Cabrera forcing a high pitch count in this at bat. Quintana up to 17 here in a clean first so far.
Was a 4-4 lifetime against these Tigers. ERA of 4.32 on the other side of the page. Anibal Sanchez has had a hard time. 5.28 ERA. Very much of a losing record against our Sox.
Called strike 3. Quintana at 94 locks up Cabrera for a 1-2-3 first inning. Nice battle. Q wins it. Bottom 1 coming next. This lineup, Eaton, Anderson, Cabrera have become stalwarts at the top three. Abreu, Morneau, Frazier, Navarro, Shuck, and Carlos Sanchez, the 26th man with the doubleheader today. Up from AAA Charlotte gets the start.
Let's take a look at how Brad Ausmus is going to line up his defense behind Anibal Sanchez, who's getting his second start in quite some time. He worked out of the pen for a while. It's Upton, Romine, and Aviles with Castellanos, Iglesias, Kinsler, and Cabrera. James McCann for the first time behind the plate. Anibal Sanchez on the hill. He's had a tough year. 5-11, ERA 6.60. Opponents hitting close to 300.
Sanchez against Eaton, who had the game winner in the suspended game that went final just a little while ago. First suspended game of the season, just the 8th suspended game in franchise history. And by the way, I've been reminded that David Robertson started that suspended game last season against Kansas City as well. So we were talking a little bit about his rare starting ability. He has been Mr. Suspendo for the Sox the last couple of years.
If he keeps on having the success that he had in the first game, he'll be more than happy to pick those up whenever they come about.
Wins aplenty.
Inning and a third of work and a W.
Ball and a strike for Eaton from Sanchez. Through the left side again. Tigers haven't learned. Adam scores the second hit in as many at bats today through the same 5.5 hole.
Ham just reaches out, takes that fastball, punches it into left field. For the most part these days, Sanchez is a fastball straight change pitcher. He'll throw the occasional slider. It hasn't been very good for him.
There are picks to click. You, the fan, via WhiteSox.com/pick-to-click, have gone with Adam Eaton. The question is, do they get the points for the win already? Steve Melky, Crew Abreu, and I'll take Carlos Sanchez just up from the International League. You can vote online, WhiteSox.com/pick-to-click. You better vote. The fans are doing rather poorly so far in our contest. Come on, clean it up.
But they absolutely are closers. So I expect them to come on strong.
Ball and a strike on Anderson. Is July 31st the non-waiver fan pick-to-click deadline as well?
Actually, because they just started, they have a lot longer. Because it wouldn't be fair to limit their ability to pick up and drop guys on a game-by-game basis, considering they've only been involved in this for less than a month.
Throw to first, and Eaton is back, and good news for Jeff Chanel and the crew. The scoreboard is completely 100% beautiful. Nice new addition to U.S. Cellular Field. Through the right-hand side for Anderson. A little bit of a dying quail into right. Gets the job done. 2 on, nobody out.
Last couple of years, Anibal Sanchez has had his problems. They continue in this one as Anderson takes it through the right side. Adam Eaton has to wait to make sure, number one, he doesn't run into it. Number two, nobody's going to catch it, so he stays at second base. Last year, Sanchez at 10-10, but his ERA 4.99. Wasn't too long ago when he had a very good year, 14-8, 2.57 ERA with these Tigers, but had some arm problems. That's really hurt him the last few years.
Melky takes a strike. By the way, you get on autopilot talking about the trade deadline being July 31st. It's August 1st this year only because July 31st is a Sunday.
I'll bear that in mind as I try to make my late deals.
I'll trade you a bottled water for an air conditioner.
Right now the air conditioner would come in handy.
2 strikes on Melky Cabrera, who has had a magnificent season for the Sox. Very consistent wherever he's been in the lineup. 1-2 from Sanchez.
This day is getting cooler by the moment. Started at 91. It is now 90 degrees.
And it feels like we've lost that 1 degree. It is just Arctic. 1-2. Shot foul. Still ball and 2 strikes on Melky. Sanchez has been in the bullpen at points this year. He's bounced back into the starting rotation with the injuries that the Tigers have had. Outside, 2-2.
I'd have to think if they got their rotation entirely healthy, Sanchez would go back in the bullpen, but he's making his 16th start. He has, however, made 6 wild pitches this year. That ties him for the team lead in that dubious department.
He's missed again. 3 balls, 2 strikes with Abreu on deck. And a positive start for the Sox here in the first. Sox who miss Justin Verlander in this series. He's scheduled tomorrow for the Tigers. That'll be at Fenway Park. The Tigers begin a series with the Red Sox. 3-2. On the ground, Kinsler. Iglesias smoothly done. Tigers get 2 in a big spot.
Very difficult to get a piece of Iglesias as he comes across the bag. Anderson did what he could, but with the rules these days, you can't even approach going out of the baseline. So Iglesias comes across. Anderson tries to get a piece of him, but some nifty footwork as he steps up and around, and they complete a very quick 4-6-3.
He does difficult athletic things very casually.
Yep.
Iglesias.
Well, the good middle infielders, it looks like you've measured him. It looks like you're going to get a piece of him, and all of a sudden what appeared to be there via the leg or something along those lines just goes away, and you don't disrupt the throw at all, and normally you don't get a piece of him. Used to be a lot more difficult when you could take a good shot at him, and that's when guys used to come across the bag and throw from down under to make sure you slid early. These days you don't get that shot, and so they use their footwork. They throw from over the top and get a whole lot on the throw. Normally it's accurate.
Well, no matter the rule, the adjustment happens very quickly.
Yep.
From players. Even this season we've watched the gradual and sometimes very abrupt change of action at second base.
Well, all that has to happen, and this is what happens when you change the rule, you have a few guys called out on interference. Only has to happen a time or 2, and then you just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, the famed one early this year was the John Gibbons play that changed the game and ended the game for Tampa Bay against the Blue Jays.
Well, we've seen a lot of guys sliding into the bag at second, and they don't get you with the body. They'll reach out and grab you with the hand. That obviously is a no-no. That was always a no-no, but sometimes they disregarded it, but not so these days.
That was the Steve Miller Band defense. Want to reach out and grab you. Right side through. Sox lead first in game number 2. Abreu plates Eaton 1-0.
RBI number 55, and Jose is starting to inside out the ball in run scoring situations and drive home some more runs. So this punch through the right side takes the sting out of the double play ground ball and makes sure you don't come away empty with runners at first and second, nobody out. It's a big lift for a pitcher to throw a scoreless first. That's not going to happen to Sanchez today.
Thanks to Abreu, Morneau gets a chance. And that will end very quickly. Iglesias to the bag for round number 3. Sox get a run. 3 hits in the inning. 1-0 after 1 on a Sunday afternoon in Chicagoland. Nice single from Jose Abreu. Thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. He's Steve Stone. I'm Jason Benetti. Our entire crew from here in sweltering Chicago as the Sox will face Martinez, Castellanos, and Upton. Jose Quintana leading the charge from the hill. His first pitch to Martinez is a strike. 4 for 4 first pitch strikes for Jose Quintana so far.
He looks back at Ryan Blakeney as if to think that ball was low, and that ball had the zone.
Frazier can't get there. Martinez held to a single. Thought Todd might have a beat on that ball.
There might have been a time when Victor was thinking about 2 when he hit one right down the line, but these are not those days. So that was a breaking ball. He kept away, and Victor took it right down the line. Todd Frazier making a good attempt, but comes up short.
I'm talking about the days when he stole 8 bags in 1998 for the Venezuelan Summer League Indians.
He had enormous speed. It was underrated speed in those days.
8 steals in 55 games back in '98.
I don't think being a catcher, as long as he was a catcher, probably shortens up those hamstrings, and you can't run quite as well as you once did. These days, all kinds of leg problems for Victor. It's the only thing that's really been able to quiet him down, and you haven't quieted him down that much.
Ball and a strike. They're always, as long as there aren't uniform rules, DH, no DH, be people who say, well, the pitcher should hit in each league or the DHs should exist in each league. But there will always be exceptions, like Martinez, who wouldn't be in baseball without an American League and a DH.
Well, there was a few of those. The Sox had one. Still an advisor to the organization, Jim Thome. Edgar Martinez, who we saw in Seattle, another one of those guys that spent a good portion of his career as a DH. Harold Baines, great portion of his career as a designated hitter.
Right side and going foul. Well, Cecil Fielder played a lot of first base for the Tigers, but by the end of his career, he was DH worthy. Boy, his son Prince is really struggling this year.
He had some neck problems earlier. In fact, they did a surgery on his neck earlier. They're contemplating yet another one, and this one would end the season for him. The Rangers on the hunt. They need quite a few things at the trade deadline.
Strike 3. Quintana has been pinpoint on his 2 strikeouts so far, both looking.
This one had the inside corner. It's exactly where Deanna wanted it. Castellanos frozen.
The one out for Upton, who in yesterday's game had a solo home run that drew the Tigers within a run. That was in the 6th. His 11th homer of the year.
The homer last night was a line drive rocket into the bullpen in right field. Normally he is a pull hitter, but not last night.
That was a dart out of this ballpark. You're talking about the Rangers. The one thing they need is for the Astros to stop winning. It's 2.5. The lead in the division, and the Astros have won 3 in a row again to climb within 2.5.
I got a feeling leading 9-1 at the bottom of the 3rd, they got a leg up today.
They got a shot.
Yeah, I like their chances. And that team is awfully good. You see, they come in 2.5 games and back at Texas. If Texas doesn't make a couple of moves, Houston is going to run them down rather easily. Seattle right there. I mean, they're hanging around. They're 5.5 games back, and a factor in the wild card.
High in the air, right hand side. Eaton waits for it to come down, and 2 out for Aviles. White Sox would like to welcome all University of Illinois alumni, students, and fans to the ballpark Friday, August 5th. Purchase tickets using the Illini code and receive a specially priced game ticket, a voucher for a White Sox Illini hat, and the opportunity to watch the White Sox take batting practice before the gates open. To purchase this ticket package, visit whitesox.com/Illini. Big splash for Illinois the football offseason, hiring Lovie Smith, former Bears head coach, to take the reins.
It's going to help the defense. So we'll take a look at the flags. You see the wind blowing rather briskly, probably upwards of gusts of 20 miles an hour or so. We bring that up for a specific reason.
Why is that, Steve?
Analysts are an endangered species these days around the major leagues, and Jerry Remy in Boston on a night with a wind just like this had his monitor come flying off and whack him in the cranium.
Had to leave the game.
He had to go home, probably after a concussion protocol. Jerry, a wonderful guy and one of the legends, by the way, in Boston.
How many fingers am I holding up?
On which hand?
That's trouble. You haven't even been hit by a monitor today.
No. So that's a break, and we wish Jerry well. Stay away from flying monitors.
Well, we're glad he's healthy,
or
so
Miramax.
we can laugh at him.
Yes, he is, I think, healthy.
Word was that he was coming back
Today.
Yeah. Hard hit shortstop Anderson cavalierly to second base like he's done it all his life. 1-0 Sox after 1.5.
Off the bat of Mike Aviles, he hits a rocket, a one-hopper. Tim Anderson right there, the easy flip. Sanchez has him, and the speed replay is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
You know what else will change the way you experience TV?
Getting whacked in the head with one.
The monitor sculling you. Frazier, Navarro, and Shuck to bat here in the second inning. And ball number one. Did you see the report on New York that Ken Rosenthal had, that the Yankees are telling other clubs they're nearing a trade of Aroldis Chapman?
Yeah, but they also told him at the same time that Andrew Miller is not going to be dealt. Now that's one thing to say it, another thing to actually mean it. And although they don't want to trade him, I'm sure with the proper deal, they would be there. And meanwhile, the Yankees are actually playing much better baseball these days. They lead San Francisco 5-0. They find themselves a game above 500, so it'll be difficult for the Yankees, and that's why they're not going to give up Miller. But Chapman's going to be a free agent. I could see him moving along.
Well, the Yankees are in that kind of no man's land right now, which a bunch of teams are in, and you could make the argument the Sox are in the same area, being just a couple games behind the Yankees, who are 4.5 games behind Toronto for that second wild card spot. You can make a lot of arguments around this August 1st trade deadline.
You could do that, but 54 wins on the part of Boston and Toronto. Going to be hard to get to that spot because both of those teams will make some deals. Boston for sure, and we believe Toronto will make one. They have very good teams, both very good offenses. And that's one of the things. If they acquire some pitching to go with the offense, and Boston's already made 3 deals. Toronto pending that first big one that I think they're probably going to make. It's probably going to be for a pitcher. And then those teams become doubly tough. So as we head down closer to the August 1st trade deadline, I think it's going to get really interesting.
Navarro catapults this ball to left. First pitch hunting and a 1-out single for the Sox catcher Deoner Navarro. Hey, Sox fans, tomorrow 7:10 p.m. your Chicago White Sox take on the Cubs. First 10,000 fans receive a drawstring bag presented by United Airlines. United, proud to fly the Chicago White Sox. Purchase tickets today by visiting whitesox.com or calling 866 Sox game. Very exciting Crosstown Cup coming up here at U.S. Cellular Field for 2, and then 2 at Wrigley Field. And don't forget, the Tuesday has been moved up an hour for the TV partners at ESPN, a 6:10 start time here at the ballpark. J.B. Shuck with a runner on and 1 out. Navarro at first. Shuck, as you saw in our opener, maybe you were watching the game, moved Avi Garcia over to third to help score the winning run in the suspended game resumption earlier today. Pull side, Shuck, a single that drops in. 2 on, 1 out. Sanchez has coughed up 5 Sox singles so far.
JB doesn't hit it very hard, but he doesn't have to. Over the head of Kinsler, in front of Aviles. And a chance to do a little more damage here in the second inning. Little Sanchez not thrown it quite as well as he would like. Only given up 1 so far, but he only has 1 out and 2 on.
And the battle of Sanchez's commences with Carlos just up from AAA Charlotte, where he's a .263 hitter. This is his 14th game in the majors with the Sox this year. And a strike called on a breaking ball that looked up.
Frequent flyer miles abounding for Carlos Sanchez, who's been up and been down and been up and been down.
And he's up to left field. Upton, out number 2. Well, when you're in an option year, that's more likely than not to happen, because when you talk about options, it sounds like it's just a one-time thing. You have a year-long option. The team can send you up and back as many times as it wants with some restrictions.
They can do that.
Adam Eaton, the batter, 2 on, 2 out. Anibal Sanchez trying to squirm loose here in the second. In the air toward foul ground, left side, and this reaches the seats.
Sanchez was signed by the Red Sox way back January 3rd of 2001. He went on the disabled list for the first time in 2003. And he's been a frequent visitor to that disabled list since then, because he used to have great stuff the last couple of years. 3 different stints on the DL.
Ball and a strike for Eaton.
And the last time last year, put him on the shelf from August 19th through the first week of October, right rotator cuff strain.
Two-one count for Eaton, who singled and scored in the first inning, the lone run of this game thus far. Sanchez had that one weird game in 2013. He struck out 4 Red Sox in the first inning of the ALCS, just the second player ever to do that. Eaton a drive to right field. It is out of here. Adam Eaton clears the right field wall. It's 4-0 Sox.
Line drive rocket. His 6th home run. He's now driven in 34. So the one thing that Anibal Sanchez has done this year, much to the dismay of the Tigers, is he's thrown the long ball, and he's thrown a lot of them. This is the 18th home run he's given up. That ball down on the inner portion, and Adam Eaton hit a line drive rocket and gone. That gives Anibal Sanchez the team lead in throwing home runs.
And now he tries to refocus on Anderson, as with that home run, another generous donation from the Alex Snellius family in loving memory of Ursula. Remember, Eaton had that ball that he fouled off his leg a couple of nights ago, came out of the game, and has shown no practical ill effects on the field.
When Tim Anderson moved to the 1 spot, Adam Eaton the 2 spot, Adam did a nice job as a number 2 hitter. What Robin said when he moved him back in the 1 spot was that he has a tendency to have long at bats. And he likes that in a leadoff hitter, putting Anderson in the 2 spot, who will hit many times with a pitcher in the stretch because Adam's aboard. It's a pretty good early start to this day. The game-winning hit in an abbreviated first game. And 2 for 2 here in 2 innings.
And he's a fan pick to click today, and it looks like
they got a leg up on that.
Yeah, that losing streak might come to an end today, fans.
Told you they were closers.
2-2. Off the plate, fastball, 3-2 for Anderson. Could Tim's 3rd walk be on the horizon? No, base hit instead.
That's 7 hits in an inning and 2/3 for Sanchez, who came in struggling this year, although had a good outing last time out. But today, not too much.
Well, you know, for fans, there's nothing more frustrating than when your team faces a struggling pitcher and he holds you down. This is a good sign for the Sox with an outburst here in the first 2 innings against Anibal Sanchez. Strike 1 to Melky at 91 down the heart. Short of 40 pitches today for Sanchez. Off speed for a strike, 0-2. Milwaukee bounced into a double play off a 3-2 pitch in the first. Sanchez out there baking in the 90-degree heat. There goes Anderson, and there goes the inning. 2 strikeouts, but in between, Adam Eaton pulverizes this pitch. A 3-run home run. The Sox swell the lead to 4-0 after 2. An RBI single, Jose Abreu. You can guess which happened in which inning. The Sox lead 4-0 over the Tigers. Jose Quintana bankrolled to a big lead early on.
He's very appreciative of getting some runs. Doesn't usually happen. And James McCann is getting a start for the first time in this series.
Former second-round pick 5 years ago out of Arkansas. Strike 1 to him from Quintana. He was originally, McCann was, a 31st round pick of the White Sox back in 2008 out of Dos Pueblos High School, but did not sign, went to college instead.
It's not unusual. You draft somebody way down there and then they choose the development of a good college program. Then if they do have any kind of talent at all, they really improve their draft status and their maturity by waiting for 3 years.
Well, they used to have the draft and follow, where you could have control of a guy and then see where he went developmentally. That has since gone away. Do you like that? Do you not like it? Where do you stand on the draft and follow?
I think once you don't have a guy, let him go where he needs to go. If you want to draft him the next draft, well, then draft him then. I do believe, however, that if you don't get a really good sum of money out of high school, you're better served to go to a good program in college, get at least a leg up on your education, because the odds are overwhelming you're going to make it. I mean, sure, there's a lot of guys who do. Most guys don't. And it's not just the education that you get toward a degree. It's the maturity factor. A lot of guys out of high school just aren't mature enough to go into pro ball, and they wind up losing their careers because they can't adjust to what professional baseball has to throw at you as an 18-year-old.
3-2 to McCann. Center field, J.B. Shuck for out number 1. That's a famous story, a semi-famous story about Jared Saltalamacchia. It's been written before. the head coach at Florida State, Mike Martin, said he was a commit. Saltalamacchia was to Florida State. He said, look, I want you to come here unless you're a first-round pick. If you're a first-round pick, take the money, go. If not, come play for me. One out for Romine, center fielder in game 2. Or game 1.1, or whatever you want to call it, after the Sox and Tigers played an inning today in a suspended game.
Romine's a pretty handy man to have around. We've seen him play defensively at third, coming in late. Play any of the outfield positions. And pretty much any of the infield positions.
One outside, 2-1.
Probably the day and age of the one position player when you're going to a 3-man bench these days with an extended bullpen. Those days are gone. You've got to have some versatility or you're not going to make it on a major league team.
You're going to have 3 or 4 Swiss Army knives and the catcher on the bench.
Yes. You can only play first. You're going to have a hard time making it as a backup. Now, if you can hit and you're a designated hitter, that's another story.
3-1. Line foul, 3-2 on Romine, with Kinsler, the leadoff man, on deck. A rummage for the baseball.
Souvenir. And a nice gesture.
Very kind.
Yeah. That's why Romine decided to hit him another one.
Now, up there on the second deck at the club level, there was a drop that just happened on that foul ball. Had it right in the glove, couldn't hang on. They were just sharing with the people down below.
E12.
How to get to 12?
I assume one of those seats are number 12. You know, one of the days, especially on a day like today, you and I should do the broadcast from up there. I'll be in the booth in back with the glass closed. You be in seat 12. Overhang, so you get a really good look at what's going on the field.
Roving reporter sent there by his partner Anderson. 2 down. That sounds more like exile than a strategic broadcast decision.
All I can do is help you.
My middle name is Napoleon.
I can just help you. Send you to Elba and enjoy it.
2 out for Kinsler, who lined out hard to Frazier on the first pitch of this ball game.
What a year he's had. You look at the numbers, doesn't matter if he's leading off, whatever he's doing. 20-57 and coming into 295, you can put him anywhere in the lineup and those are respectable numbers. But for a leadoff hitter, they're prodigious numbers.
High pop up. Anderson and Schuck. JB the call and the ball. 2 pitches for Kinsler today. 2 outs and a 1-2-3 inning for Quintana, who's cruising 4-0 after 2.5.
Third inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999 right now. The 300th texter will win a $30 gift card to Subway restaurants in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do.
300th texter, you win. That's all you got to do. Easy as pie. Abreu, Morneau, and Frazier. First pitch off the plate. Ball one. 7 hits so far for the Sox. 6 singles and a home run. And a foul ball, 1-1. Jose now 55 RBIs, but signs over the past couple of weeks that he's figured things out at the plate more than earlier in the year.
Well, these days he's not allowing himself to be jammed. He's taking that ball to right field.
Called a strike. Looked like Xfinity Pitch Tracks thought otherwise. High in the air, left field. Upton is back on it at the wall. It carries, and it is out of here. No, he caught it. He pulled it in. My goodness. He got there. Upton pulls it out of his glove, and 1 out. The fireworks went off, but 1 away.
Looks to me like premature exhilaration.
Boy, I thought that was out of here. Instead, Upton brought it in.
The scoreboard thought it was out of here also. I think Jose did too. That was a breaking ball down. He reached down and got it. The wind was taking it out. Upton went back to the wall, measured it perfectly. At the top of his leap, it stuck in the glove, and he brought it back.
Steve, he looked dejected when he came back, and then he just very casually pulled it out of his glove.
The old trick bag. He's up. Great catch.
How about that? Fool me once. 2 strikes on you, Morneau. Oh, 2. Ground ball to third. Castellanos. That crossed up Cabrera, 2 out.
Well, that's one of the reasons why you can't shift ahead of time. If you shift ahead of time, you lock yourself in. You can't make that play. But if you are waiting for the baseball and then shift to where the ball goes, in this case, you shift with the right foot, keeping the left on the bag, you're able to make the play. And you see how he did it. He didn't lock himself in. It's a good play by a veteran first baseman. You can't anticipate the throw is going to be a good one.
2 out. Todd Frazier, the batter. And he hammers it foul off the facade. 0-1. One new rule. I'm never in charge of fireworks.
Well, especially on close plays where you might run out of them later on. Like that day, there were 7 solo home runs here, and they ran out of fireworks. And on the 7th, they had to use the one that was for winning the ball game because there was none left.
You were out.
It was gone. That was it. Fini.
Game over. 2 strikes on Frazier. And in the air, center field, long run Romine. Now he's there, and that'll do it. 1-2-3 inning for Sanchez. That was touch and go. 4-0 Sox after 3.
Robin by logging on to WGNTV.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. Sox Game Zone is powered by DET AT CHA, which is family owned for 125 years, handling all your photographic needs. DET AT CHA, where the focus is on you, young fella.
Fourth inning, 4-0 Sox with the lead here at U.S. Cellular Field. Iglesias, Cabrera, and Martinez coming up to face Quintana. Jose has allowed just one hit. That was a single to lead off the second inning by Victor Martinez. Ball one from Quintana. Sox have a home run from Eaton and an Abreu RBI single. 2-1 for Iglesias, who bounced out to third his first time up. Shortstop, whose cousin is the recently signed Cuban star Yulieski Gurriel.
Gurriel, 32 years old. That was with Houston, I believe, and Houston figures that he might have a chance as we move a little further into the season. Now, we know of two positions it's not going to be. It's not going to be shortstop, and it's not going to be second. After that, you've got a few openings, but not many on that Houston team.
Fouled away.
By the way, Evan Gattis on Evan Gattis Gnome game hit 2 home runs.
With that beard, he's typically Evan Gattis Gnome.
He said on the last 3 days where they were giving away something of his over the last few years, he's hit a home run now each and every game. So 4 of them in the last 3 promotion days, using him as the guy. I would have a promotion day every day were I the Astros, using either the Gnome or another such thing with Evan. Pretty strong man.
In the air left field, Anderson still coming, and this ball bounces.
Well, he went a long way out there. Melky gave it a run, and Anderson just a touch faster. Probably ran close to the length of a football field to try to make the effort on this one. Tim was closing ground at the end, but couldn't quite get to it.
Three balls, 2 strikes, Iglesias. Well hit left center field. Melky's back. He's at the warning track, and Melky Cabrera's there for out number 1.
Nice job by Melky in the gap. There was no chance for J.B. Shuck, who was around toward right center field. He wasn't going to get that. And Melky, who was well off the line, able to run it down. Iglesias with 3 home runs this year, bidding for another. But Melky had other ideas with about 2 feet to spare.
One out for Miguel Cabrera. Anything that happens in that area of the field, you think of the catch with written on the wall over there in left center. The anniversary yesterday of Burley's perfect game, 7 years to the date yesterday.
We have a chance to see it every time we walk in through the offices. There's a beautiful picture of Dwayne Wise plastered up on that wall. There is the area of the catch. The best part of it, really, although going up and getting it and keeping it in the park was a great part of it, but as he came down and the ball got away, flipped up in the air, and he was able to secure it, that was one of the great parts of that catch. And he was just inserted at that time defensively, which made it even a more miraculous play off the bat of Gabe Kapler.
high. 2-2 on Cabrera.
Miguel had a tough last 3 at bats in that game yesterday. 3 strikeouts in key situations.
After just tormenting the Sox in the first 2 games of this series, he was 6 out of 7 the first 2 days. Check to swing. He did not go around, says Corey Blazer at first.
Well, I think that he was ready to throw the bat away and take the helmet off and go to the dugout. I think he thought he swung. He, however, looks at first. Well, that's a borderline call. He checks it first, then he sees that he didn't get it. He's going to take the helmet off and then keeps it on.
Real time, it seemed like he did swing, but looking at that replay, it was very close. 1 out, 1 on for Victor Martinez. Foul balls so far today from the Tigers. Victor, who's singled back in the 2nd inning. Thirty-seven-year-old Victor Martinez doing some work on his shades. Another foul ball from Martinez. He is just peppering the first base side stands.
He's only hit 1 ground ball in the series. The second would be a double play.
He's been intentionally walked quite a bit in this series. 4 times, once at least in each game.
Not necessarily a bad plan. Maybe if J.D. Martinez were in the lineup, you wouldn't think about that near as much as you would with Castellanos behind him.
Two balls, 2 strikes on Martinez. Cabrera at first. And another foul from Victor Martinez. Those intentional walks, only 1 has come back to hurt the Sox directly. Castellanos drove in the game tying run in the 8th inning last night in the suspended game immediately after the intentional walk to Martinez. Foul ball wide of third.
From a management standpoint, you can only make the move. It was the right move each and every time. It's going to work for Robin's sake most of the time. Sometimes it's not going to work. But you do know one thing. Over Victor Martinez's history against the Sox, he's been a killer. And so even though it's not to mean that Castellanos can't hit, just means that in a key situation over the course of their careers, Martinez is a better clutch hitter than Castellanos.
Well, the Sox have seen so often Martinez do the opposite of that. That's a foul pop out, 2 away. Castellanos coming up.
That pitch was out of the strike zone. Somewhat surprisingly, Victor expanded that zone and couldn't do anything with it.
Castellanos strikeout looking second inning. Victor Martinez singled in that second inning, then a 1-2-3 for Quintana. Batch to left field. Melky in his tracks for out number 3. Cabrera stranded after the 1-out walk. A lot of pitches, but no arm done. 3.5 gone. It's 4-0 Sox. Tigers here at U.S. Cellular Field today. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone getting ready to play Sox math. We have a number of things on the prize shelf, including a Southpaw Jedi Knight figurine.
That's a really handsome figurine.
He's holding the lightsaber on the box. We'll get
How about
his lightsaber. Yeah, Bo Jackson breaking the bat with his bobblehead there. And a football. Two-sport bobblehead for Bo. Deanna Navarro to lead off in the home fourth. And he takes ball number 1. Navarro singled and scored. He came across on the Adam Eaton 3-run homer. Ball and a strike on Navarro. Sanchez has quickened the pace a little bit here in the fourth. He's been in trouble deep the first 2 innings.
After a very bad first, we escaped with only 1 run. And a 3-run second. He had a good third.
It is a hot one today here at U.S. Cellular Field. 2 games with the Cubs in this ballpark. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be at Wrigley Field. And the Sox hit the road to face Minnesota and Detroit.
Weather's supposed to be a little nicer for that Cubs home and home. We urge you to get here early with the Tuesday game starting at 6 o'clock. There's some standing room only seats left, but it's going to be a huge crowd here at U.S. Cellular Field. So if you get here early, you'll have no problems getting in the ballpark, getting situated for a 7 and then a 6 o'clock start in 2 games here.
Now Grandpa's here, so that's good news.
Grandpa's melting.
No reason to worry.
It's 92.
3-2 to Navarro. Smoke to center field. Leadoff single brings us to our fourth inning Sox Math question. Hashtag Sox Math. First correct answer wins a prize off the prize shelf. Number of innings scheduled for today. Multiply the number of pitchers used before the game was suspended last night. Divide the number of years Jose Quintana's pitched in the majors and subtract the number of relievers the White Sox used behind Quintana in his first start this season. That's your Sox Math question for today. Hashtag Sox Math. First correct answer on Twitter wins a prize. We'll send you something. Hopefully it's the prize you want. Strike one to JB Shuck. Tip of the cap to the prize queen, Val, by the way, who's the one shipping out all of the prizes to you and yours. Thanks, Val.
It's kind of nice. I'm sure we will give her her choice of one prize we have left.
Pop up left side for Shuck. Hangs up for Upton. And one away. Friday, August 5th, come see your Chicago White Sox take on the Baltimore Orioles at 7:10 p.m. All fans are invited to stay for a post-game fireworks show presented by Athletico Physical Therapy. Athletico Physical Therapy, better for everybody. Purchase tickets today by visiting whitesox.com or calling 866-SOX-GAME. Grounded foul for Carlos Sanchez, who is up from AAA for this game. '26th man, thanks to essentially a doubleheader here today with a second game to be played after the suspended game earlier.
Romine very deep in center field.
Into the gap it goes. Upton skates on over. Two out for Eaton.
Our fourth drive of the game, a line drive 3-run homer off the bat of Adam Eaton. That was his 6th. He's now got 34 driven in. That a no-doubter. The 18th thrown by Sanchez.
Two for two for Eaton in the game. After the game winner in the suspended game, he now has 6 hits in the series. And this is a bouncing ball to Kinsler, who has his choice of bags, and he selects first. Navarro stranded. 4-0 Sox after 4 today.
With a White Sox checking, an official White Sox debit card, only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC.
Expertly done, Steve Stone. That lady's tweeting about how wonderful your Wintrust read was.
I've really worked on that. I take the read home, go through it a few times every night.
Diligent, very diligent. Upton, Aviles, McCann coming up here in inning number 5 for the Tigers.
Between innings, Roger Bossard was talking with Jeff Nelson, who's the crew chief. There are a few storm clouds in the area, but not for a while.
That pop-up thunderstorm season has begun.
It's been popping up quite a bit and lengthy.
More often than not this series after a season really without much rain escapade for the Sox.
They've thrown it very well. Victor Martinez with a single leading off the second inning, and that's been it as far as hits are concerned. He has walked one. That was Cabrera last inning.
Hey, you're on the scoreboard, Steve Stone.
I remember that hair, certainly.
And the folks will for a long, long time.
Yes, not a great look. Went the distance, allowing 4 hits.
Did they not have brushes back then?
Well, don't forget, we weren't making a great deal of money in those days, so brushes were a little expensive.
Abreu watches it fly away. So you're saying the 5 and dime was out of your price range?
Milwaukee had the semblance of a very good team in those days. They were putting together something that became, you might remember, Harvey's Wallbangers.
Yeah.
It was in '82. They were just starting to assemble it. Paul Molitor, Robin Yount.
Shock in center. 1 out. Here's your Sox math answer for today. Number of innings scheduled 10. Pitchers used last night 10. 10 times 10 is 100. Divide by 5 Quintana's 5-year major league career and subtract the 4 pitchers used in the opener for Quintana this year. 16 is your answer. Congratulations to Chi-Town fan 18. With the answer of 16, you will get something off the prize shelf. You'll be contacted later today.
I can't remember that fan winning. Oh, I think that's the first timer.
Chi-Town fan 2 has played. Chi-Town fan 4 has played, but 18
no.
In for the first time. 2 strikes on Aviles with 1 out here in the 5th. You were saying it during the break. You look at Jose Quintana's day, and he just kind of does it without any fanfare.
I think that's one of the reasons why when you talk to some scouts and they just don't near appreciate how good Jose Quintana has been over the last 4 years. Because you look at his stuff and there's really not one thing that jumps out at you until you realize that he can control both sides of the plate. He uses a face-high fastball to put away hitters. He is completely unflappable, never getting 2 up or 2 down at any given time, and just keeps making pitch after pitch.
Right at Anderson, who drops to a knee and guns down Aviles. 2 away. Sox fans, join us as the White Sox take on the Baltimore Orioles Saturday, August 6th at 6:10 p.m. First 20,000 fans receive a White Sox retro batting practice pullover presented by Coca-Cola. Those are nice. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com.
I had one of those. I could have shown you, but it melted.
It did, with Grandpa down there.
Who? They are good looking, however.
2 out for McCann. Soft strike 1 from Quintana.
Hit the ball well his first time up. J.B. Shuck was standing right there. One and one for McCann, who gets the start for Saltalamacchia, who was
0 for 11 with 7 strikeouts the first 3 games of this series. Quintana so far today, 1 walk, 1 single allowed, and that's all she wrote in terms of offense for the Tigers. 85 pitches deep, though, after a heavy pitch count in the 4th, despite facing just 4 hitters. Two and 2 for McCann. And he got him swinging. Strike 3. It's a 1-2-3. 5th for Jose Quintana. His third 1-2-3 inning today, and we are halfway home. 4-zip Sox.
Bank now get access to over 45,000 fee-free ATMs nationwide.
I like a fee-free ATM.
And I would prefer them all over the country instead of nationwide.
You have problems. Anderson with a foul ball, tips 2 for 2. Single to right, single to left. Eight hits for the Sox against Anibal Sanchez. 0-2.
Sanchez, as far as the Tiger bullpen goes, done a nice job making a comeback after what looked like a very shaky first 2. Didn't look like he'd be around, but here he is.
Wow, Corey Blazer said Anderson went around, and the crowd's not sure.
Throws a slider out of the zone, and from that angle, looked like he went a bit too far. Plus, when you're a young hitter, you're probably not going to get the benefit of that one on a billion-degree day.
In the air, right field from Melky Aviles. Why is that? Why does it matter that he's a young hitter? You hear it all the time in baseball, but why does it matter?
Seniority.
Yeah, but rules are rules, right?
Yes, they are, Mary Poppins. And everything in life is exactly the way it should be. But there's a lot of guys that you just don't get rung up on that particular pitch. Tim Anderson not being one of them.
Ball one to Abreu, who had a home run taken away in the third by Upton. Maybe it's Pollyanna-ish, but this ball is into right and down for a hit for Abreu. The guys who need it most are the guys who are trying to establish themselves as great players, or at least good players.
That's probably the same philosophy as the guys who are making the most in this game are given the most in this game. The most endorsements, the most ancillary benefits.
Well, but they've earned those benefits, but they haven't earned a safe call when they're out.
Who's talking about a safe call when they're out?
Well, a safe strike three call on a check swing.
Take it up with Rob Manfred. Commissioner would love to hear from you in that situation.
He's already been here this year. I've missed my opportunity.
To talk about the inequities of life?
What? Just the scenario by which a 23-year-old doesn't get the same call as a 37-year-old.
Well, he might, but he doesn't.
The SS logic has left the port.
Here's the thing.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I'm playing devil's advocate, but
so you want to be Al Pacino in that particular movie?
Which one?
Devil's advocate?
Sure. 3-1 on Morneau.
But it always has held true that especially a hitter with a very good eye, when he takes one just off the corner, it's known by the umpires around the league that he has a very good eye. He's normally going to get that call.
A rocket to right. Morneau a single. Abreu to second. 2-out rally bubbling up for the Sox.
And believe me, I'm not saying that it's fair because I thought that everything should be a call third strike. But it doesn't work that way. Justin Morneau takes that one. Just barely over the head of Ian Kinsler. Keeps the inning alive. 2 on, 2 out.
Well, that's the strongest argument you make, is that, hey, this guy's got a really good eye. Maybe I did miss it as the plate umpire. Maybe I should believe in his eye more than I believe in my eye.
Thank you, Clarence Darrow. I appreciate that. But there's a whole lot of different things that go into it. One of the things, in the day when I pitched against some of the better players like Joe Morgan, for instance, Pete Rose for another one, it's very difficult to get a call third because both of them were historically guys that seemed to know the corners real well. On the other side of the coin, if a guy just came up from, let's say, Biloxi, and he had had a minute and a half in the major leagues, he's taking one off the outside corner, and it's 1,000 degrees outside. It's going to be strike three, young man. We'll catch you in a few years.
But what if it's a veteran player and it's 1,000 degrees outside?
It depends on the veteran player. There are some veteran players, like you might remember the Mendoza line, who could hardly get over 200.
That was Ramiro.
He didn't get too many calls, I don't think. Otherwise, his Mendoza line would have been at 240.
Yeah, we'd have had a different line. Upstairs with a fastball for Sanchez. Frazier strikes out. 2 left on for the Sox. 4-0 after 5. 5. White Sox leading 4-0 on the strength of a Jose Abreu RBI single and a 3-run homer for Adam Eaton. Quintana gets a foul ball from Romine.
So I believe one of the new rules we'll have is limiting your caffeine.
I don't drink caffeine.
Oh, I don't know what that whatever that thing was, that pseudo health drink that you have.
A cup of vitamin water. Vitamins are good for you. You should check into them.
No, I do. I have. Well, I had it. It's gone. Melted.
I feel like the right side of the booth is a volcano today. Like 3 things have melted that have no melting properties in 90-degree heat.
It's one of those days. As that young man certainly knows better than most. As long as the concessions hold out, he's going to be very happy. Although right now it looks like he's in need of a Slurpee.
There's an extra. You can send it on up. 2-2 for Romine. Now 3-2. Quintana just 1 walk, 1 hit allowed. He has faced 2 over the minimum through 5.
We talked about the versatility of Andrew Romine. He's played 7 different positions in the major leagues, including pitching.
Anderson off the backhand, 1 away.
Well, what was really nice, it shows you the arm strength, was that he really didn't need a crow hop. All he did was take about a half a step back and fire it across, and it got there perfectly in plenty of time and right on the button. It's a strong arm that young man has. We've seen him made in this series some throws from his knees, some throws from one knee, some throws in the air with nothing on the ground. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
And as we told you the other night, he was surprised by his own arm on the one play he's made in this series. Quintana threads in a strike call to Kinsler.
Jose's performance could not have come at a better time as far as the bullpen is concerned, because they've been used quite a bit. And Jose into the 6th with no problems.
Kinsler deep to left field and hooking. Ball just jumps off his bat, still at age 34.
That's one of the things that's characterized his entire career.
Outside, a fastball at 92. Check swing, didn't go. 2-2. Corey Blazer has been the hub of all focus today at first base. Bunch of very close check swing calls.
Well, if you've got good stuff, especially sharp breaking pitches, you're going to get a lot of appeals, because guys are going to identify as a fastball. It's going to drop out of the zone as either a curve or a slider.
Into the bat, center field. Shuck moseys on over for out number 2. Check in during your visit to U.S. Cellular Field using MLB.com Ballpark. The official U.S. Cellular Field app for your iPhone and Android smartphone perfectly complements your trip with ballpark maps, concessions guides, check-in prizes, and more. Download MLB.com Ballpark today or visit WhiteSox.com/ballpark app. You check in every time you come to U.S. Cellular Field with your ballpark app, even if accidentally.
You've got to do that to qualify for the very, very good looking prize, the golden Chris Sale bobblehead.
Ball and a strike on Iglesias, who is 0 for 2. Sox will be home for 2 more. The Cubs are coming. Tomorrow's pitching matchup, Miguel Gonzalez versus Jake Arrieta. It's a 7:10 start time. Then Kyle Hendricks and James Shields on Tuesday here at U.S. Cellular Field.
The Cubs are on a road trip. They find themselves in Milwaukee. Joe Nathan making his reappearance in the major leagues, pitching in that ball game. He was activated today.
Former Twins closer. No go.
And I think there's a few people on the bench saying, hey, Corey, let's go.
There's a second option over there. No,
it was a good call.
Line to left. Iglesias is on, digging for two. Iglesias is safe.
Very accurate throw by Melky. Made it a lot closer than it looked like it was going to be as Jose Iglesias rifles it into left field. He's thinking 2 bases all the way, and Melky goes over, going to his right. So he's got to do a 360 spin and then still get it there. Just doesn't get it there in time. And you're hoping, if you're an infielder, that a guy will pop up off the bag. Didn't look like Iglesias did it on his 16th double.
It was an awkward slide, too. The way his legs came in, you thought maybe he would pop up off the bag. Instead, he's safe at second with the double. And on to Miguel Cabrera. Just the second hit for the Tigers today, putting a runner in scoring position for the first time. That is the stringent definition of today. That's excluding the 9th inning that we played earlier. It would be very nice to move on from today to avoid all of the qualifiers we have to give you about the suspended game that lasted 1 inning earlier today. 2 strikes on Cabrera. He saw 10 pitches in the first to a strikeout from Quintana, 6 pitches to a walk in the 4th. And now Jose trying to make quick work of Cabrera here. 0-2, 2 down. He got him with a fastball up and out. 3 pitches. See you later. Bottom 6 next, 4-0.
At WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 38 years. To join the nation, visit jefffook.com because Nationwide is on your side.
Sox will bat in the 6th inning with Navarro, Shuck, and Sanchez. Anibal Sanchez has gone 5 innings today for the Tigers, trying to save the bullpen a little bit. Anibal Sanchez, who back in 2007, he and his wife had their first child, their son Alan. A couple months later, though, he passed away from dengue fever, which is a tropical illness. As Navarro hits the ball high in the air, Romine in center is there for out number 1. Today's edition of Sticks and Stone. Kirk Gibson, Steve, how'd you do against him?
Well, I will tell you that I gave up his first major league home run. I do know that for a fact. I can still see it disappearing over the wall in Baltimore. So I would say I didn't do well because he happened to be a left-hand hitter with a short stroke. Usually the guys that give me some problems. So I know there'll be at least a 1 in the home run column, probably more. On base percentage, okay. Former MVP, by the way, for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I faced him when he was a member of the dreaded Tigers. Dreaded for me, not dreaded for just about anybody else, well, except in '84. Yeah, they had 73. They had the largest team I've ever seen. Truly, they had Frank Howard, who was as big a man as there was. They had Gates Brown, Ike Brown, Bill Freehand, Willie Horton, Earl Wilson, just huge guys. And we always used to kid that if we got in a fight with them, that it was up to the couple guys who wanted to fight to go get them, and all of our other guys would go away and watch them slaughter you.
Find a crevice to hide in.
Because I think Willie Horton and Frank Howard could have beaten up any team by themselves.
Just the 2 of them.
Yeah, they were pretty good. In fact, Willie Horton was given an edict by the commissioner at the time. If there was a fight, he was mandated to go into the locker room because he was that uncontrollable.
For the safety of all, good decision. Foul ball from Shuck.
Yeah, large team in that '73 Tiger team.
And that was back in the halcyon days of a little bit more anarchy at home plate, with less control by the umpires and more handle it yourself type of rule.
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
A different game doesn't mean it was a better game. It just means it was a different game.
Yeah, different game. Yeah. Different unwritten rules. You know, it would make the rules more uniform if you wrote them down.
Yeah, but that would take away the meaning of unwritten rules.
Pin sales would be up. McCann to go chat with Sanchez.
I think all things considered, if you're Brad Ausmus, you have to appreciate this effort by Sanchez, who gave up 4 runs after 2 innings. He's given up 3 hits since then, but he's still around getting some outs.
Mentioned Sanchez briefly with his son who passed away. He became friends with a Marlins coach named Rich Donnelly. Ran into Rich at points during your career.
Many times.
Rich, who has coined this phrase, the chicken runs at midnight. Swing and a miss for strike 3. The phrase comes from Rich's daughter, who had a brain tumor back when the Pirates in '92 were in the postseason. She was watching the game and she said, "Dad, what do you tell the players on the bases?" He was a base coach at the time. "What do you say?" Like things like the chicken runs at midnight. Just came up with some random phrase. It was funny, so it kind of stuck. Jose Lean grabbed onto it in the clubhouse and started using the phrase. Well, Rich Donnelly's daughter, Amy, passed away after that season. Then later, Rich was with the Marlins when they won the World Series with Craig Counsell. And Rich's sons, who were grown at the time, were watching the game, and they had made fun of Counsell's batting stance. They called him the chicken because of the way he hit at the plate. Well, Counsell scored that winning run, and Rich Donnelly's son said, "Hey, Dad, look at the clock," and it was exactly midnight. How about that? The chicken ran at midnight.
And won at midnight.
And won. So Rich Donnelly got to know Anibal Sanchez, who lost a child. They shared that in common. There's a ground ball to second. Kinsler for out number 3. 1-2-3 inning for Anibal Sanchez. 4-0 your score after 6 today. Nothing Sox with the lead over the Tigers here at U.S. Cellular Field.
No warmth to that beard, I'm sure.
Yeah, today's not the day to have a bushy beard.
Not sure when that day is exactly, but certainly not today.
Well, look, you are not allowed to be the hair police after what we saw today and yesterday. Plate umpire Ryan Blakeney staying hydrated, as everyone is, on a 90-degree sopping wet day at the ballpark. Very humid.
Jose Quintana has been in control, but now you start thinking about the pitch count at 108 coming, and the bullpen probably thinking about getting loose just in case he runs into some problems. Nate Jones, a very warm, sticky day, easy to get loose today.
In the air left center field, J.B. Shuck roving over. Let's see how you did against Kirk Gibson, Mr. Stone. 1 for 6.
Boy, just that one hit, huh? The home run. Walked him twice. Didn't want to see a repeat of that home run.
How many first career home runs did you give up, by the way? You know?
Well, Dwayne Kuiper, first and only.
You ruined my joke.
And Kurt Gibson, the first. He had a few, though. Good hit.
Well done, 1 for 6.
I'm sure some others. When I was ending, he was just starting, and he put together quite a career. Then became a major league manager, as you know. Now a broadcaster.
Had heard that when he was managing, there were some guys who during batting practice would hit home runs, then run around past first and do the fist pump thing.
Could very well be. That's one of the famous pictures in Dodger history. And he went up and he always said he was looking for a backdoor slider from Dennis Eckersley because they had looked at tape. He had a bad leg. They didn't know if he could hit. He had looked at tape of Eckersley and knew when he got into some trouble, when he had to get the out, he would use that backdoor slider, trying to throw it away to the left-hand hitter. He went up looking for that one pitch, got it, hit it out of the ballpark. One of the famous Dodger home runs ever.
Right center field and deep. Shuck is back. Shuck at the wall. JB is there. What a play.
Castellanos can't believe it because he was thinking at least 2 bases, and JB Shuck shading around toward right center got a very good jump on this one and was able to run it down. A very appreciative pitcher, Jose Quintana, looking out. He's pretty sure he gave up at least a 2-base hit, maybe a home run, but JB Shuck on the backhand secures the baseball. What a play that was, and Jose Quintana certainly enjoying that.
2 out for Upton. And strike 1. I mean, you love seeing that as a fielder and as a teammate. Quintana with the tip of the cap and then some for Shuck.
I think from Robin and Don Cooper's standpoint, you get Jose Quintana through this inning, leave 6, get him to the bullpen, and considered a job well done as pitch number 115 on the way.
One and one for Upton, who's flat out to right and flat out to center. Ball inside or thereabouts.
Pretty good pitch.
Two one. Shuck was playing deep and he can't get there. So a flare single for Upton, and we shall see what the Sox decide to do. Here comes Robin. Well, you said it. The idea was let him try to get through 7.
You're going to give him one more pitch or so, and then if he can get through, that's great. If not, you undoubtedly go to Nate Jones. So a great job by Jose Quintana. Gave up 3 hits. Responsible for Upton at first base. He'll get a standing ovation from a very appreciative crowd. What a job by Jose Quintana. As he walks off to that standing O, we'll step out and be back after these messages. And it is Nate Jones. He's been a very busy man lately.
He'll face Aviles after throwing each of the last 2 days, once for a third of an inning, once for 2/3 of an inning. So 3 up and 3 in for Jones the last 3 days. 2-0. Upton at first after Quintana allowed just a 3rd hit for the day. And 3-0 to Aviles.
You got McCann in the on-deck circle. You also have Saltalamacchia, a switch hitter with more power from the left side.
Strike 1. Followed closely by strike 2. Borderline pitch. Nate got it. Or if you're a Tiger fan, maybe ball 4. 3-2. He got him on a slider. Strike 3. 3-0, no problem. 4-0 Sox at stretch time. Francisco, the Blue Jays 2, Boston as well. The Indians have fallen. Sox could pick up 2 games in 2 days in the AL Central. The Orioles with that victory.
Indians are going to be really happy to get out of Baltimore.
Oh yeah.
Baltimore were now winners of 4 in a row, and they just decimated the Indians in that series.
It was a big opportunity for everybody in the Central. Sox and Tigers playing for 4 this weekend as the Cubs trail in Milwaukee in the 6th. Colorado leads Atlanta early at Coors Field 4-0. Late game tonight, Dodgers and Cardinals after that 16-inning affair a couple nights ago that Matt Adams finished with a flourish with a home run.
And the Dodgers still have no idea when or if Clayton Kershaw is going to come back. They are in the market for a top-of-the-line starting pitcher. Mark Lowe comes in the game, and as you can see for Mark, it has not been a banner year. 9.39 ERA. Opponent's hitting a whopping .333. Okay, so a question for you.
What you got?
As we have not exactly a blowout game, but certainly one that's a little more comfortable than we've seen lately.
A lot of close games this year.
We know about sabermetrics, and we know about analytics, and we know the fact that every team has departments, offices, a lot of very smart people who are quantifying just about everything that goes on in the field. And there was a time in baseball where you could have an advantage if you were a bit better than other teams in the analytical department. But those days are probably gone because everybody now has those guys. So how do you get a leg up? What exactly is it going to be in baseball that's going to allow you to have an advantage that you once had in sabermetrics, but now everything kind of evened out?
Well, I mean, one way is to figure out a better way to weight the stats. Choose which stats you like more than the other teams. That's certainly one way, is to take what you have in front of you, but edit it and distill it in a better way than everybody else.
So
what do you think?
You believe that you'll get then with some organizations, you'll get better statisticians, wiser computer guys to do that, or find out things that you feel are more important than others, cast away those other things and put emphasis on stats that other organizations won't?
Well, with any edge, there are going to be two factors. Number one is that there are no barriers to entry unless you have information that's proprietary to you, so everybody can do it. That's going to happen with any type of information.
Right.
And number two is the league can change the rules in order to change where your edge comes from, hypothetically an international draft. But you think there's another place, right?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different things, and I think it's almost a back to the future situation, because I remember at times when organizations had a couple of guys, each organization had a couple of guys that were able to take your minor leaguers and use through your own development process a way to teach them different aspects of competition. So that I've always believed there were 3 steps in baseball with youngsters. You have to first take a guy, whether he's from high school or college, you have to teach him how to play professional baseball, because it's different than even high-powered college programs. You're playing every day, you're paid, you're doing it every day, and you are now a professional. It's a different indoctrination. Then you have, once you learn how to play professional baseball, if you're fortunate, you have to learn how to play Major League Baseball, because that's different. You play more games. Instead of 140 or 42, you play 162. Also, the competition is more consistent. You're not going to face that soft 3, 4, and 5 starter like you do in some minor leagues. You're going to face really good hitters up and down that order that you're not going to see. So that's number 2. But number 3, the most important of the bunch, is to teach winning baseball. And I think that's going to be, again, that leap back to the future, where you start organizations, you have guys specifically that teach you how to play winning baseball, meaning you know each and every type of situational hitting.
3-2 for Eaton, fouled away.
A guy that's asked to lay down a bunt can lay down a bunt. I do remember in the days when they had a guy by the name of George Kissel in the minor leagues for St. Louis. He taught winning baseball throughout their system. But also, when Tony La Russa was a manager there, I remember each and every one of those Cardinals laying down bunts in situations where you'd see Albert Pujols bunt, Jim Edmonds bunt. I mean, something that you would never really see. Well, and again, it was a different era, but what I'm talking about is there are situations where you don't have to hit a home run to have an impact on the game. There are certain situations where that ground ball to the right side of the infield, moving the runner from second to third, is essential in winning that game.
Fouled away again, and to be clear, you had said bunting a couple of times. You don't mean only that scenario, because the new age people who see that bunting is down and maybe less effective statistically than we thought it was 10, 15 years ago even. You don't mean only bunting, you just mean situational play.
Yes, situational play, because there are some situations that call for you to lay down a bunt. For instance, you come up, there's a man at third base playing you 5 steps in back of the bag. He's giving you a base hit. So instead of trying to hit the ball by him and get a base hit to his left, all you have to do is lay one down. And I'm not talking about a sacrifice bunt there. I'm talking about keying an inning by bunting, because what we've seen, and we've seen it with all teams, there's a lot of pitchers that don't field very well. And if you don't put the pressure on them, you'll never know that he doesn't field very well. We had a situation where CC Sabathia had a bad leg and actually couldn't get off the mound. And imagine what a few bunts, 3 or 4 bunts, would do when you had a pitcher who was completely immobile.
Ball 1 to Anderson after the Eaton walk on 10 pitches. Well, and it's about taking what the defense and the other team gives you, exploiting those weaknesses as well. I mean, that's part of it, is knowing the angles you can play within a game and within a series.
Because I think that
Anderson a drive left field. Upton back, and Upton has room.
I think that every team at this point, and I think maybe the game is better for it, every team has advanced analytics in every aspect from their front offices. And a lot of managers will tell the front office, look, you have analytics that affect you when you're trying to make a trade or trying to make an acquisition. That's fine. Give me analytics that I can use on a game-by-game basis that can help me in that dugout on that day. So I think a lot of teams do that, and they do it very well. Some teams do it a little better than others, but right now everybody is kind of bunching up in that. And there's another thing, and Jeff Lunau, the guy from Houston who runs that team and does a pretty good job of it, was talking about sleep studies.
Melky to left center. Romine waves off Upton. Out number 2. Fans experience Levy Restaurant's fine dining and service from the First Merit Bank Stadium Club. Memberships are available to season ticket holders. First Merit Bank Stadium Club is also perfect for non-game day events, including weddings and corporate parties. For more info, call 312-674-1000.
Tommy Canley loosening up, and when you talk about sleep studies, it's when you get into a city, when you leave a city, when you get into a city, when is your body at peak performance? When should you be able to get into a city, eat your dinners or lunches or whenever it's going to be, to get the best performance out of each and every player? Understanding that, and that's something that we haven't done a lot of, that I think is going to be the next wave to come around. And we talk about circadian rhythms. That's one of the aspects of it. Knowing when you function best.
And how you function best.
And how you function best. Because the game has been, I mean, the game of baseball is a beautiful game, and it's played like it's been played a lot, except we've accepted the fact that with advanced analytics we can make things better, but there's other ways also where we can make things better.
Well, nutrition being a part of that as well, just understanding the body, and even with StatCast and things like that, you can see the route that a fielder takes.
And most of the clubs are actually doing, they're doing routes, StatCast. They are doing nutrition. I know the Sox are very big on that. They're doing a lot of different things to help it, and one of the things we talked about was eye exercises, which a lot of people don't think about, is making your eyes stronger so you follow the ball better. I know the Sox do that. Other teams do that. A lot of teams do that with exercises that will allow you to see the ball a great deal better, see it longer, pick up the spin sooner.
And we're talking about sooner, split seconds.
Well, that's really a huge advantage.
Ball 4 to Abreu. 2 walks for the sometimes erratic Mark Lowe. 2 on, 2 out as the Sox pine for insurance here in the 7th inning. And this may be all for Mr. Lowe.
Been a tough year for him. He was brought to the Tigers because he always had a great arm, but this year things aren't working real well, so he's going to depart. And as he walks out, so will we. Be back after these messages.
Summer camps are open to boys and girls ages 5 to 12 and are in over 50 communities. Learn to play the right way straight from the pros. 630 play ball or visit bullsoxacademy.com to find a camp near you.
Kyle Ryan comes in the ballgame on for the 35th time. He's 4.2 ERA, 344. Opponent's hitting a very high 298, so he's had some luck ERA-wise, giving up a lot of hits. 39 and 34 innings. He inherits a couple of Sox base runners at first and second, and 2 outs here in the 7th.
Justin Morneau, the hitter, and he will stay in to face the left-hander Ryan. Justin a 3-run homer a couple of nights ago to give the Sox a then lead. The Tigers came back to win that game. That was earlier on in this series. Strike 1 to Morneau. That was Friday night. Home run off of 23-year-old Michael Fulmer. Abreu at first, Eaton at second. Fading breaking ball, 0-2. In the dirt, ball and 2 strikes. Sox took the lead in the first inning in this game on a Jose Abreu RBI single. Then Adam Eaton in the second provided a 3-run homer with 2 out off of Tigers starter Anibal Sanchez. Gave up 10 hits and the 4 runs in this game. Ball.
Tried to throw another slider low and away, but that one was just low. Wasn't away and almost turned into a double down the line.
One and 2 on Morneau. Outside of fastball, 2-2 with Frazier on deck. Five pitches, none in the strike zone. 2-2. Outside. Three balls, 2 strikes. 2 out, runners will go. And it's strike 3. Miguel Cabrera was on his way to the dugout. One piece of business remaining. Tap the bag. 4-0. Sox the lead.
All Sox today, 4-0. Out hit the Tigers 10-3. It's been an errorless game. Quintana was brilliant, 6 2/3, 3 hits, no runs, and Eaton with a 3-run homer to help kick things off in the second inning. Get the Honda you love at the Honda Summer Clearance Event now at your Honda dealer.
They have air conditioning there. You might want to go check out a car.
They never looked as good to me as they would today in a highly air-conditioned showroom.
Ball 1 to McCann with clouds forming here at U.S. Cellular Field.
There's been some meetings with Roger and the umpires, although I think it's a while yet.
In the air left center, Shuck has been a busy man on the go today, and he has out number 1. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. 400 supported devices feels like a lot. It feels like maybe like a microwave and a blender would be included in the 400 supported devices. Right field this time. Eaton is back, and this ball is gone.
So Romine just barely far enough. But far enough it was. His first home run of the year. He's driven in 6. Our Mazda replay. And Nate Jones gave up a blast to lead off the inning. Only to see it caught this time. This one leaves the yard. Cuts the lead to 3.
Nate right back to the strike zone to Ian Kinsler, who's 0 for 3 with a couple flyouts to center and a line out to third. Andrew Romine, who's been a defensive replacement in this series but not a starter, goes deep to break up the shutout. Swing, ball outside, 1 and 2 on Kinsler. Sox will play 4 with the Cubs, 2 here, 2 at Wrigley. Then on the road for Minnesota leading into August, and some more games in the Central with these here Tigers.
Minnesota made things difficult in Boston. I mean, that was a slugfest in that series. Boston winning today 8-7. But the Twins scored a whole lot of runs against them.
Under new management with the firing of Terry Ryan. Anderson can't get there. Gave it everything. Couldn't pull it in. Kinsler, a 1-out single.
There's the injury report from Romeo Orthopedics. Prince Fielder on the 15-day DL with herniated discs. They don't know if he's going to have surgery, and that would probably end it. Shin-Soo Choo back on the DL with lower back inflammation. He's had a hard time staying healthy. The injury report is brought to you by Dr. Anthony Romeo Orthopedics. If you have any shoulder or elbow problems, go to RomeoOrthopedics.com or call 312-432-2342.
Nate Jones in search of a double play ball here. Things are starting to get interesting for the Tigers offense, which is difficult to keep quiet for long.
Third day in a row for Nate. They haven't been easy performances. They've been pretty much under duress.
Sox got their runs in the first and second inning here in this game. They lead 4-1 over the Tigers. Ground ball. Anderson gets one. 6-4 on the fielder's choice, and Cabrera will bat in the 8th. Too slowly hit for a double play.
No, that would have been of the spectacular variety, and surprisingly, Carlos is able to get the throw off. Throw is low, yet he's able to get it off, and they can't get it there in time, but not for an outstanding effort on the man who was just called up as a 26th man in what is construed as a doubleheader.
Now Cabrera off his body, foul. Sox in the bottom of the 8th will bring up Frazier, Navarro, and Shuck. Cabrera has struck out 5 times in his last 6 trips to the plate. Outside. Since David Robertson already pitched today, we'll see what the Sox do in the 9th. If the score stays, as Jones decides on a slider and Cabrera can't reach it.
Well, you would have to think, throwing last night and today, he would still have, no, I think he would still have maybe an inning left, but we'll have to wait and see.
Twice in one game, you think? One day, 2 games.
And some last night.
Yep.
But it's usually the case with closers that they rust away before they wear away. We'll just have to see how his arm feels, because he's going to tell him the truth at this point.
Off the plate.
You get a pitcher been around as long as he has, he knows just exactly what his body can and can't do. So if he can't go, they're not going to put him in.
Three balls, 2 strikes. Victor Martinez is on deck. He's the prospective tying run. Payoff pitch. Outside, ball 4, 2 on, 2 out. And here comes Victor. And here comes Robin.
It could very well be, and by the way the pitches were delivered, that Nate is just kind of pitched out.
It's Tommy Kahnle in the bullpen.
They can leave him in, telling him he is yours.
Well, it's up to Victor Martinez and Nate Jones to see where this game veers, whether it keeps course with a Sox lead or otherwise. Two out, 2 on. Strike. Slider to start off Martinez. Romine homered earlier in the inning. Martinez is down 2 strikes. Nate Jones wrestles control of the at bat. Another slider.
I'm thinking about, your 2 choices. One is a face-high fastball.
Out in front.
Yeah, that was a slider that was right over the middle of the plate, not what Nate wanted. Victor has fanned 1 time in the 4-game series. Doesn't do that very often, but another one here would be welcome.
He lays off. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cabrera at first, Iglesias at second. Tying run, Victor Martinez at home against Nate Jones.
They're playing him as a dead pull hitter. Sanchez back on the grass. Abreu well back at first base at the cut of the grass. Let's see if he goes to a high, tight fastball here, if he tries to keep the ball away.
Sliders over and over for Martinez.
By the way, the rain is starting to come down.
Very humid day. Storms popping up everywhere, and Sox trying to close the deal to split the series. 4 outs to get.
With this offense and their ability to hit the ball in the ballpark, it's hard to get too comfortable with this Tiger team.
Jones to Martinez on 2-2. He got him. An array of sliders from Jones, and he finally vanquishes Martinez. 4-1 your score. Bottom 8 next. (4-1) Sox lead the Tigers as Nate Jones escapes some trouble in the top of the 8th, and the Sox try and pile on with Frazier, Navarro, and Shuck coming up.
He was able to throw a good slider. It stayed up and right in under the hands of Victor Martinez. Struck him out in a key situation. Watch the location. Navarro wants it inside, and Nate gets it there. Then for his efforts, Deanna Navarro hit in the mask with the follow through on the swing of Martinez.
No good deed goes unpunished behind the plate.
And there is a look at David Robertson, who was the winner in the abbreviated first game, or the finale of the first game.
Third base side, foul ground, Castellanos.
Fans, it's the bona fide player of the game, and it is Jose Quintana, who went 6 2/3 with 3 hits, no runs, a walk, 4 strikeouts. He was brilliant. He's the pitcher of record. Wrap your hands around the original Italian beef at Bona. Proudly served at U.S. Cellular Field, and probably served also.
Very likely, actually. If David Robertson were to come in and finish this game, he would have been the last pitcher last night, the first pitcher today, and the last pitcher today. Wonder how many times that has happened. For him, 0, but
400 or 500. No, I have no idea how many times it happened, because you rarely get in a situation like this. It would be an oddity.
Iglesias to first. Time to play a game that we like to call 6 Degrees of Luke Appling. The game's played leader for the White Sox. We get Luke all the way to a player in our game. Luke Appling played with Bob Kennedy, who played with Al Kaline of the Tigers. Vern Rule in 1974 was with him. Vern and Chuck Finley were teammates with the Angels in 1986. And there is Victor Martinez, the Chuck Finley teammate in 2002. From Appling to Martinez, 6 degrees. 2,422 games. Luke had a lot of teammates. How about that?
Unbelievable.
Ball 1 to Shuck.
Bob Kennedy's son was at the ballpark these last couple of series. Terry Kennedy, now a scout with the Cubs, as the Cubs will be the opponent tomorrow night.
7:10 first pitch, then 6:10 on Tuesday night.
And we urge you to get here early for both of those games, and it's on to Wrigley Field for the finale of the home and home 4-game series. Last year, you might remember, there was a 6-game series for the simple reason that we were playing head-to-head with the Central of the National League. This year it's the East of the National League, so only 4 games.
You have to imagine those games will stay on the schedule forever and for always.
I would hope so. I think it's entertaining for the fans, and I think when you take a look at the attendance on both sides of town, you'll see that the fans kind of like them also.
What about one year, just 162 games, Cubs and Sox? They don't play anybody else. You in?
Oh, I think it would be maybe by the 40th game there might be a little fisticuffs or so. That young fan would certainly like it, especially about 15, 20 years from now.
It's just an idea, throwing it out there. First base, Cabrera won't get there in time. JB's safe, infield single.
Miguel Cabrera has always ranged well wide of the bag at first base, and it makes it almost impossible for a left-hand pitcher to get to the mound. Even without the 360 spin and the slide, he can't get there in time because Ryan, being a left-hander, is going to fall off the mound to the third base side. That's where you kind of have to know where your second baseman is setting up. Go back to the bag and see if you can make the play 4-3, because you're not going to make it 3-1, not with a left-hander on the mound.
Leaves the Sox with 1 on and 2 out for Carlos Sanchez. Ryan misses inside for ball 1. Sox will have to send somebody down after this game. There's a 26th man. It's Sanchez up from Charlotte. And the one piece of information that's big in that decision is if there are no injuries, that player has to stay down for 10 days. with an injury, you can call up anybody, even if he was optioned just the day prior.
Well, let's hope that doesn't come into play, because we've seen enough of those, especially in the last month.
Throw to second, not in time. Stolen base. Shuck into scoring position.
JB was going on first move, and McCann from his knees tried to gun him down, but couldn't get it there in time. That was because of the break. Here you run the risk you're going to get picked off, or you're going to steal second, because you're running on first move. If the first move is to first base, you're picked off by plenty. If not, you're in, representing a big insurance run.
So McCann out to the mound to talk to Ryan. The Tigers, by the way, in the top of the ninth have Castellanos, Upton, and Avila's scheduled. So because Cabrera and Martinez hit in the eighth, you're in a better scenario than otherwise, because they could not plate any more runs. Shot foul by Sanchez. Have you taken any selfies? It's Selfie Sunday, Steve.
I have not yet, but we still have plenty of time.
Lots of time left.
Oh, yeah. By the way, the Sox came in 14 and 21 in the Central. So you win 2 here. Doesn't take a mathematician to know you go to 5 under 500 against the Central, and it'd be 4 and 6 against the Tigers.
Lofted third base side. Shortstop Iglesias fading for round number 3. 3 outs needed for the Sox to guarantee a split. Here comes Robbie again. 4-1. The Tigers and a save situation for the home side.
David Robertson trying to go after a win and a save in the same day. And there you look at the numbers, on for the 39th time, looking for save number 24, and this is 27th opportunity.
He goes against Castellanos, Upton, and Avilas in the ninth. Sox trying to lead wire to wire this afternoon in the regularly scheduled game after they won the suspended game on an Eaton RBI single with 2 out in the 9th earlier. Ball and a strike for Castellanos, who had the RBI single last night to send the game into suspended mode in the 8th when the rain came. This is big trouble. 4-2.
Pretty much the entire series, Castellanos been looking for a ball thigh high inner portion. And he got one. That's his first home run of the series, but he got it exactly where he wanted it. And with an uppercut swing, they go a long way. You see where Navarro wants it, you see where it winds up. And that one out in a hurry. 18th home run. 56th run batted in.
Big power for Castellanos. Justin Upton now with 1 in, nobody out, and a huge cut. One and one for Upton, who has 3 hits in the series, 1 a home run. That was yesterday. Sox trying to split with the Tigers. Strike call.
And Justin decides to drop his bat and then kick it a bit. That pitch might have been a touch off the corner.
Former catcher Brad Ausmus hoping for a rally for his team, which came in 6 games back in the Central. Sox 9.5 back before this game started, trying to make it 8.5 with an Indians loss on the board. There is out number 1 here in the 9th.
And Upton just leaves his bat in front of home plate and walks off dejectedly. Pretty good pitch with 2 strikes. Upton cannot check his swing, drops the bat. See you in Detroit.
Don't need it anymore.
Hopefully.
Well, at that point, he certainly doesn't. 1 out, Aviles, who's 0 for 3, 2 ground balls and a strikeout. Ball 1. Next game between the Sox and Tigers will be August the 2nd at Comerica Park after an off day. Foul first base side and out of play.
Jose going over about as far as he could go. Runs out of room as it hits off the top of the dugout. And Aviles able to stay alive.
Catcher McCann is next. 7 and 8 in the order, charged with continuing on for the Tigers. Robertson hoping to finish the deal. 1-1. Off the mound, Sanchez 2 away.
That's a delightful hop, because that would have been a tough play up the middle if it hits the back part of the mound. As it turned out, it hit the front part of the mound, bound straight up in the air. And Karam's right to Carlos at second base. 1 to go.
Tyler Collins will hit.
Stereo Tyler.
Yeah. Collins, pinch hitter last night, struck out looking against Robertson. Batting for Aviles. Strike 1. 1-2. A little bit low. Ball and 2 strikes on Collins.
When he got him last night, it was on a curve ball looking.
One ball, 2 strikes. High drive right field. Eaton back. It's a 1-run game. Pinch hit home run, Tyler Collins. Tigers were down to their final strike, and now they have the tying run coming up.
Collins with his second pinch hit of the year and his first home run, and that one a no-doubter. And Robin coming out. He wants a quick word with David. And it looks like Saltalamacchia will come on to pinch hit.
So Romine yanked back. Robertson trying to navigate through a difficult 9th inning. 2 homers on the board for the Tigers. Saltalamacchia with 9 for the year. Strike 1. High breaking ball.
Ian Kinsler in the on-deck circle.
Tigers had been shut out until 1 out in the 8th. Romine homered, then Castellanos homered to lead this inning off. Now Collins a pinch hit home run. A ball and a strike. Now 1-2.
Tiger fan, Sox fan, both screaming at the top of their lungs.
1-2. Time for Saltalamacchia.
Little dust kicked up.
Tigers have kicked up some dust here in the 9th. 1-2. Robertson. High fly ball right field. Eaton wall. Oh my goodness, we're tied.
Throws a curveball. That one down the middle. Saltalamacchia with his 10th home run. And with that, Quintana cannot win.
Back-to-back home runs in the 9th for the Tigers. It's a 4-4 game.
He had thrown 2 fastballs in the sequence, up and by him upstairs. That breaking ball down and gone.
Kinsler against Robertson. Ball 1.
There's a curveball right there. 9 of his 10 home runs have come from that side.
Foul ball, 1-1.
And the Tigers pen, Rondon if they don't score, Frankie Rodriguez if they do.
Eaton, Anderson, and Cabrera scheduled to hit for the Sox. And it looks like they will in a 4-4 tie. A pair of 2-out homers for the Tigers. 4-4 to the home 9th.
Ninth inning. We're tied at 4. Bruce Rondon comes into the ball game. And he's got to deal with the top of the orders. So Adam Eaton getting an opportunity. Tyler Collins, who had a pinch homer, plays center field.
Jared Saltalamacchio will be the catcher for Rondon.
And there you look at the numbers, on for the 12th time. ERA 5.11.
Best laid plans for the Sox did not come to fruition. Ball 1 to Adam Eaton. 4-4 tie in the 9th. After a home run spree for the Tigers here in the 9th inning. Adam 2 for 3. His 3-run homer looked for a while like the game winner. The Tigers have fought back. Here is Saltalamacchio, whose pinch hit homer has left us here in the home 9th, which looked for all the world to be non-existent. Check swing, no go. 3-0 for Eaton, looking to start the inning off with a base.
And Rondon has some sketchy control, and this is a good combination to run against if Adam can get on.
Strike. Sox win in the 1-inning resumption in the first game. Tigers have come back in the second game. That's ball 4. Eaton is on with the leadoff walk.
Now Saltalamacchio out to the mound to talk with Rondon.
Rich Doobie as well. What do you do here if you're the Sox? You have Anderson and Eaton in play. You let him run. Do you hit and run? What's your call?
I'd let him try to steal a bag against Saltalamacchio, who doesn't have quite as strong an arm as McCann has. Joe McEwing looking over in the dugout, then walking up. Tim Anderson putting his arm on his shoulder, telling him instead of leaving it to chance with a sign, talking to him about just exactly what they want to do. Only pitch I wouldn't run on is the first pitch. Too easy to call a pitch out in the first pitch.
After the long discussion, Rondon is ready for Anderson. And Tim lays down a bunt. Rondon tags him out. Eaton slips around second, but nobody home for a throw. Sacrifice bunt, one unassisted for Anderson, leaving it up to Melky Cabrera with a runner in scoring position.
Very good bunt by Tim Anderson. That's his 3rd sacrifice. He leaves Rondon with only 1 play. That's to tag him out. Be a little surprised if they didn't walk Melky in this situation. For them, he's irrelevant. Well, they're going to pitch to him. And Adam Eaton, thinking that there wasn't anybody at third, has to put on the brakes quickly.
Melky's 0 for 4 today. He's got Eaton at second. On the ground and through. Eaton coming home. Adam Eaton scores the winning run.
They chose to pitch to our most consistent hitter in Melky Cabrera. Melky shoots it into left field, and the leadoff walk, the sacrifice, game over in an unconventional manner.
Took a little longer. Results the same as the Sox wanted. 5-4 your final score. Eaton drives in the winner in the first game and scores the winner in the second.
Melky shoots it into left field by Castellanos. He's well off the line. He can't get down in time. And Upton can't cut down Adam Eaton. Adam Eaton, who drove home the winning run in the first game, scores the winning run in the second. 2 wins in one day.
Eaton, a 3-run homer and 3 runs scored in the second game, and a mob scene again for the Sox, who win dramatically. 2 games in one day. 5-4 the final score in game 2. Series officially split. 5-4 the final. We'll wrap it for you coming next.